Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to every one of you. So today I would like to present our paper. I'm the presenter. My name is Nur Ain yaacob and my paper entitled of Non-Traditional Issues Among ASEAN Nations, Securitization and Policy Making in Issues of Non-Traditional Security. So they are all my group members, Muhammad Izmi Yusof, Suzy Manuruddin, Dr. Zarina binti Muhammad Zain and Nur Amira Akmal Mustafa. So I am a lecturer from Faculty of Administrative Science and Policy Studies, Universiti Teknologi Mara, Seremban Negeri Sembilan. So here are my introduction. The study of NTS is vital in addressing pertinent challenges that the international community has failed to deal with NTS effectively. So critics argue, however, there is a tendency within NTS study to draw up a long list of what constitutes a security threat, which would render the concept of NTS is too broad and unwieldy. This can be mitigated by using the concept coined by Barry Buzen or Weaver of Copenhagen School of Thought, which is securitization, according to Supala Gajanakundi 2020. So the effect of these are more potent in Asia, where underdevelopment remains rampant and many increasingly question the legitimacy of the governments. So the growing socio-economic disparity between developed and developing world only serve to threaten states' legitimacy and in turn its stability. So this paper will tend to highlight a few issues that concern the paradigm of NTS, which is non-traditional security, and to see the awareness of ASEAN members on the issues of NTS and how do they respond to such matters. Right, here are the research problem. Okay, since the implementation of tightened border control and limits of freedom of movement order over COVID-19 in the region, there has been an increase of countries in denying entry of abandoned ships carrying Rohingya refugees and sparking this concern about a possible repeat of the 2015 boat people crisis. So the lack of coordinated response to then crisis led most of the countries involved to agree to the 2016 Bali Declaration, which outlined the way forward in preventing another similar crisis. However, despite the recent meeting of the Bali Process Task Force on Planning and Preparedness, during which countries including Indonesia and Malaysia emphasized the importance of saving life at sea and not endanger the life and safety of persons in responding to irregular maritime immigration. So this seems to have been disregarded in the face of COVID-19. Although Malaysia has accepted boats in the past, albeit on the ad hoc basis, it stands toughened in the recent months. This is according to S. Nandini 2020. Hence, NTS cannot be sidelined as a peripheral problem, but rather needs to be mainstreamed into people's mindset as a crucial to our security. Moreover, government officials also must seriously take consideration socio-economic changes and effectively expand their understanding of security threats beyond the scope of military. And more importantly, it must be acknowledged that due to the transnational nature of these challenges, such as pandemic and the environment, states cannot deal with these issues on their own. Okay. Here is our literature review. So we are actually trying to discuss about the concept of non-traditional security issue. So the world is increasingly challenged by a variety of non-military security concerns, such as we have climate change, we have climate change, food and water scarcity, environmental degradation, pandemics, irregular human migration, and transnational crime such as cybersecurity are examples of non-military security issues that will endanger the well-being and security of the society. So the ASEAN framework for regional security has been repeatedly tested by NTS threats. So ASEAN economic crisis started on 1997, followed by SARS, avian flu in 2017 to 2008, followed by Rohingya refugees issue in 2017, and now we are actually facing the COVID-19 pandemic on 2020. So while the majority of these issues are non-military in nature, But they are actually referred as non-traditional security because they pose a serious threat to the state and also social existence. This one is according to Caballero Anthony, 2016. So many studies shows that NTS should be securitized and it poses threat as it is pose threat to state and also human. Government and regional institutions like ASEAN should overcome these issues and effectively. Okay, according to Stanley Foundation 2003 mentioned that the issues of NTS are bigger than state as it focuses more on people. It needs to be solved by using people-based, which is multilateral and holistic approach. People-based solution actually focus on the issue rather than the facts. So the state also needs to change the focus from the state-based security to people-based security. So a multilateral approach can be done through communication and cooperation between among governments. A holistic approach, on the other hand, needs the help of the government, business, and also civil society groups. Okay, when we talk about national security, non-traditional security and securitization, so securitization theory, which is employed as a framework analysis, it is the basic theory that underpins the analysis in the study. So securitization developed from Copenhagen School of Security Studies, pioneered by Barry Boson and Oli Weaver and Jack DeWitt, which stress the role of non-traditional security. So there are several components that must be considered in securitization in order to perceive an issue to be a security. The first component is relates to securitizing actors. So when you talk about actors, they are the one who play a role in declaring something that there is existentially threatened. Which is the actor can become from the government, represented by high-ranking official, lobbyists, even pressure group. They are all the example of securitizing actors. Component number 2 is the issue or the threat itself that can potentially bring harmful effects towards peace and stability of the country. And lastly is the reference object, or we call it as the person or who needs the security. So this is how actors assure the survival of the things that they want to save. So public acceptance and support for every policy and initiative adopted are very crucial in order to ensure that securitization processes are successfully implemented. Okay, here are all the types of NTS. Number 1, we have climate change. So climate change is a transnational issue in Southeast Asia that has become a major source of concern for ASEAN. It is mostly as a result of greenhouse gas emission that has been released by advanced economics for decades. For example, Laos. It is one of the most vulnerable countries to projected climate change trends as its residents confront considerable climate-related risks that are worsened by poverty, malnourishment, and also high exposure to poor and also marginalized population. So flooding across the region is affected by most ASEAN countries such as Vietnam in November 2020, resulting in temporary displacement of more than 100,000 of people, and a tropical cyclone Saudal triggered in flood in Cambodia, Thailand, and also Malaysia. This is according to PRIZAC 2020. Another types of NTS we call as food security, which is measured by elimination of hunger and malnutrition. Food security can be defined as a situation in which all people at all times have physical, social, and economic access to enough, safe, nutritious food that fits their dietary requirements or food choices for an active and healthy lifestyle. Okay, in addition, transnational crime also is another type of NTS, which is counter-terrorism, illicit drug trafficking, trafficking in persons, arms smuggling, sea piracy, money laundering, international economic crime, and also cybercrime. So United Nations has defined this transnational crime as offense whose inception, prevention, or direct or indirect effect involve more than one country. So transnational organized crime syndicates are highly organized and sophisticated activities that are driven by market force in the same way regular cooperation are. Okay, next we have another types of NTS. We have irregular migrant. So an irregular migrant is one who entered a foreign country without first complete the formal immigration process or obtain a legal work permit, or the one who became irregular after enter the country. So they are regarded as stateless individual who are actually highly impacted by political change and discrimination, including the issue of human trafficking, marriage discrimination, child registration issues, and nationality challenges. So these are the common concerns that lead to refugee issues such as Myanmar's Rohingya, according to International Labour Organization 2015. So lastly, we have health security. This is called as a new threat and re-emerging infectious disease that have raised concern about how Southeast Asia can effectively mitigate it. Say it started when severe acute respiratory syndrome such as SARS in 2003, followed by H5N1 to 2005 to 2006, H1N1 in 2009, MERS-CoV in 2012, and presently is actually COVID-19. So Southeast Asia health resilience was severely impacted by global expansion of this deadly disease. Okay, here are our research methodology. So the project will adopt case study approach because it places emphasis on investigating contemporary issues within its real-life context and place pragmatic emphasis on understanding and comprehend the issue, and we use it from Creswell and Yin 1994. So the data should be collected both. We collect primary and also secondary sources. The primary is using interview with the key informants, and we also collect from secondary data from official publication, government agency providing poverty alleviation, textbook, and other published document that address empirical indicators in the study. We also use internet sources such as website, non-traditional security issue in Southeast Asia, policy database, archival materials, newspaper, and magazine. So the data for the study should be collected using qualitative research methods, where interviews will be conducted with a number of academicians and students from international relation course who are directly involved in this field. So for this research, all information received from the informant will be using thematic analysis. Okay, here are our results and discussion. So ASEAN members' awareness of the non-traditional security issue. So non-traditional security challenge to continue cause serious harm to the well-being of the nation and communities throughout Asia and the world. So ASEAN considers NTS as a threat because it can cause societal and political instability and hence become a threat to security. So according to the informant's input, NTS issue has a significant impact on the entire ASEAN region in forms of politics, economic and social, and also environment. From a political perspective, irregular migrants such as Rohingya, as well as transnational crime like cybercrime, sea piracy, drug trafficking, and human trafficking pose a threat, particularly to ASEAN goal establishing stability and peace. They also mentioned that there were too many loopholes, including migration and bribery issue, that they will jeopardize the security of the states. Other challenges such as infectious disease, climate change, and food security are likewise interconnected and jeopardize economic progress as well as quality of life, people's quality of life. Okay, next, NTS situation of the early 2000 compared to today were vastly different. From the feedback given by the informants, NTS early 2000, most of the issue are concerned of war and terrorism, but not the dimension of threats. Okay, and they shift to another more complex such as COVID-19 issue, and transnational crime are the biggest. They are more difficult, so the problem extends beyond national borders to include different levels of governance, which is through local, non-state, state, regional, and global place of cooperation and accountability. Furthermore, changing demographic, climate change, rising food and energy needs result to increase in NTS conflict in Southeast Asia. So NTS focus on strengthening and defending Southeast Asian territorial integrity in the early 20s to preserve region long-term viability. So traditional and non-traditional security issues are distinct from each other. According to the informants, traditional security issues are about the threats, again, essential values of the states. So territorial integrity and political sovereignty. It involved the employment of military force, weaponry, armament system, as well as diplomatic tactics. So the interview also stated that in traditional security issue, the greatest danger to the country is the military threats, while non-traditional security consists of dangers such as terrorism, human rights, global poverty, and health epidemic. So it's actually concerned threat the condition of human survival, while traditional security is compared, it's actually more towards balancing power and building alliances. Other than that, NTS is actually cover a broad aspect of security issues such as compared to traditional security, only focus on the state and governing institutions. So another result is non-traditional security response by ASEAN members. So one of the early documents that have been introduced by ASEAN, we have Joint Declaration on Cooperation in the Field of NTS, adopted by ASEAN and China. This is according to Stephanie M. So in order to address this requirement of NTS concern, ASEAN is actually continual working with the dialogue partner. For example, we have ASEAN Agreement on Disaster Management and Emergency Response and ASEAN +3 Emerging Infectious Disease Program. So this is actually one of the agreement that has been responded by ASEAN, and according to the informants, another measure and effort done by ASEAN to tackle this NTS is through cooperation, diplomatic cooperation, such as ASEAN meetings and forums. So we have ASEAN Immigration Intelligence Forum and also ASEAN Meeting Drug Expert. In addition, they noted that NTS concern become more complex and wide-ranging impact. As a result, it necessary to improve to expand national, regional, and international capacities to deal with it. So the interviewee also stated that ASEAN Political Security Community is another effort done by ASEAN to provide regional framework because it better address in terms of security, dispute, as well as increased security cooperation. So the response needs from the higher level as well as and is crucial to implement to have enough sufficient resources to formulate the policy. So for example, during a largest fire outbreak in Indonesia, so neighbor countries such as Malaysia, Indonesia, they immediately dispatch firefighters and helicopters as requested by the Indonesian government. So they also said that MS must work together to enhance collaboration by provide capabilities and training programs such as Southeast Asia Regional Center for Counterterrorism, because ASEAN country will not be able to deal with alone and it need cooperation with other countries. Okay, so as NTS become increasingly complex, government resources become scarce. So it is imperative that agencies need to work together to coordinate the effort. NGO participation is very important to ease the operation and provide flexibility, strong connection with the community. It will help to save costs and increase public confidence. For example, in the case of HIV and AIDS issue, ASEAN is actually actively address NGO raising education and awareness towards that issue. So additionally, it's critical to securitize NTS issue to ensure that they receive prompt attention, particularly from higher level institutions. For example, the issue of COVID-19. So the authority of the government will act as security actor. The pandemic itself is a threat that needs to be combated, and the people or the society as the reference object that need protection. So in order to ensure successfulness of this securitizing COVID-19, the government need to ensure that the threat will endanger the reference object, which is the people, and the threat cannot be securitized unless they have an audience. Therefore, COVID-19 pandemic possibly pose a threat to public health, which in turn jeopardize national security. When a pandemic causes destabilization or disruption, social order, it considered a security concern. So securitizing of NTS concern will ensure that high-level policy response will boost capabilities, presenting emergency measures when need and implementing them quickly and assessing progress in a timely manner. So as a conclusion, we can say that NTS challenges are very complicated and grew more difficult as new security concerns emerged, and putting much more pressure on the government to discover a better ways on operating on it. So it is time that for state and non-state actors to take proactive action and more resilience toward governing this issue. So other than that, ASEAN also prioritized NTS issue as a significant impact towards politics, economy and society. It can be seen through emergence of COVID-19, posed several security risks to Southeast Asian countries due to restriction on people movement. Other concerns arise when people cannot move, when people are being quarantined. It concern arise like regular and irregular migration, which is it creates spillover effect towards neighboring Southeast Asian countries such as Rohingya refugees. Furthermore, it prompt another issue that pose threat to people's health. For example, food security challenge such as food availability, people access to food, price of food and adequate food preparation to maintain sanitation and maximum nutrition. So finally, as a result of increased connectivity of COVID-19 shutdown on online shopping, online schooling, cybersecurity have increased and result in major increase in cybercrime issue. So and also potential of victims of social online child sexual exploitation. So from this we can see that NTS is were interrelated and have cross-cutting effect around the world and must be appropriately addressed. So here are the acknowledgement, and this study was supported by FSPPP grant, internal grant, and collaboration with Kementerian Luar Negeri Putrajaya, and has been approved by UiTM Research Ethics Committee. So here are all the different references that we use, and I think that's all for today. Thank you so much.